Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you are doing well. Today, we're going to go over Sui. I received a lot of questions about it. And in fact, I was myself curious because every time I looked at its chart, it seemed to be going up in price and it was performing well and continues to perform well, even at a time where crypto in general is not performing well. So what's the deal with Sui? Is it actually a Solana killer? What's actually happening here? So we're going to look, as we always do, we're going to look at the data, and try to be as objective as possible and see what the data is saying. So without further ado, let's get started. So I actually told my thumbnail creator to not put me in a suit, maybe put me into something a little less formal. So he chose this attire. Let me know what you think. Wa alaikum salam. Thanks for coming. Let me know what you'd like me, what you'd like to see me wearing in my next thumbnail. Um, Keep it halal, of course. Not financial advice. Make sure to do your own due diligence before making any investing decisions. We're just trying to tell you how we're looking at things, and ultimately, you have to make up your own mind. Oh, yeah. If you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're informed when we go live next. Really do like these live interactions. If you have any questions, leave them at the end. And become a member for even more value and to follow my portfolios move for move, inshallah. All right. So, as we mentioned, Sui has been on somewhat of a tear recently. And it's remarkable because it comes at a time when the crypto market in general hasn't really been doing well, either flat or down, depending on what you're looking at in its majority, but there are some outliers. So, what's the deal here? Up, of course, close to 100% in the last month. Alaikum salam, Naheem. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Rashad. All right. So, what is Sui? So, Sui is a layer one blockchain, and it is distinguished by the fact that it has parallel processing. So, not your average boomer blockchain like Ethereum, where you don't have parallel processing. And it has a simple user interface. In fact, that's what Sui stands for. So, one common feature that I kept reading about was the fact that in its apps, you could actually log in using your social media credentials, so your Google login or Facebook login. And it has a better developer experience, at least that's what they claim. I haven't actually developed using their Move language, so I can't really corroborate from firsthand experience. Speaking of Facebook, all four founders previously worked at Meta, formerly Facebook, on the Diem project, which was the project to create a currency for Facebook, and that ended up not working out. But they took a lot of their learnings from there, from their work at Facebook, and took it to Sui. Now, let's look at the traction that this project actually has in order to judge its merits. Granted, this is not a perfect way of judging one's merits. Sometimes traction takes time, and Sui is indeed a young project. However, I think that the trends, as we'll see in a second, will be informative as to where things are headed. So, in terms of size right now, and just for comparison, the total value locked, so all of the value that's in smart contracts on the platform, for Sui, it's less than 1% versus Ethereum, 56% of overall total value locked. So, you can see the comparison between the two projects just to figure out the size in terms of the actual value locked on each chain. Now, in terms of traction, I think there's nothing better to look at than, or perhaps there are a few better metrics to look at than daily transactions. So I wanted to compare Solana with Sui and Aptos, which is another layer one parallel processing blockchain. So we'll see how they are doing in comparison to one another. So we did Sui versus Aptos versus Solana. And you see here, Solana has daily transactions of close to 26 million versus Sui of 1.2 million and Aptos of 600,000. And you can see also, this is important, the trend. So for Sui, and for Aptos, I'll say, the trend is basically parallel to the x-axis. There's no sort of upward trajectory where you could extrapolate from current numbers and say, oh, well, we see daily transactions catching up with Solana at this point, or reaching a significant portion of what Solana has at this point. No, what we have here is pretty flat daily transactions. So this is not something that is necessarily bullish for this layer one solution. The same, I will say the same for daily active users. So, and that makes sense, right? They typically move in tandem, daily transactions, daily active users. So you have Aptos actually beating out Sui with regards to daily active users. But Solana is sort of in a league of its own with close to, well, more than 800,000. Aptos is second in this comparison with 112,000, and Sui with just 26,000 daily active users. So again, here, there's a question mark. I still can't figure out why this blockchain is up 100% in the last month. But on we go. So looking at the DEX trading volume, again here we have 850 million for Solana, Sui is at 53 million, and Aptos at 1.9 million. Again, we see here Sui and Aptos perhaps are compared. You can compare them with one another, but Solana is sort of in a league on its own. And again here, I will point to the trend lines where I don't think there's any sort of clear movement upwards where the lead is being shrunk between Solana and Sui, or Aptos for that matter. And when we look at the fees, now this is the total fees generated by the blockchain, not just the fees that are going to token holders. So this number is actually larger than the number that is actually going to token holders. And it's pretty modest. So with regards to Solana, in terms of fees, you have 663,000 generated daily, whereas for Sui, it's only 8,000 in fees. That's total. That's not just going to Sui holders, but total. For Aptos, it's 4.8 thousand. Now, in terms of revenue, that's actually going to the blockchain. For Solana, it's half the previous amount because half gets burned, basically. Aptos, it's 4.8 thousand, and Sui, it's 2.6 thousand. So $2.6 thousand a day, folks. This is what this project is generating. That's like, in fact, I was like, is this on par with just a burger joint? What are we talking about here? So I actually asked Grok, I was like, hey, how much does an In-N-Out burger location, one location, generate in one day? And lo and behold, its estimate of how much In-N-Out one location would generate each day was $8,000 per day. Now, this is a general estimate. And coincidentally, that's how much fees Sui generates. So Sui makes as much as this place, one location of this place. That's what we're talking about here, folks. We're talking about, I don't care if it's crypto. Just because it's crypto doesn't mean every rule about valuation just goes out the window. I mean, things have to make sense here. So let's look at this summary comparison of traction between these three blockchains. So we look at that Sui, Aptos, and Solana. Daily transactions, daily active users, DEX trading volume, fees and revenue. Solana is the winner across the board here. This is not to say that there are no advantages to any of these layer one blockchains, but it does seem like for the headlines, for the most prominent metrics one can think of, it doesn't seem like these blockchains are necessarily, and Sui in particular, is necessarily competing with Solana or on its way to be killing Solana, as some on X insist. And now let's look at the valuation, which I was talking about. So if we look at just what is getting to the blockchain and we annualize that number, so this is an annualized number for revenue. So for Sui, we're talking about roughly $1 million a year. I mean, there are some individuals that make that amount. Aptos is 1.7 and Solana is 121 million. We compare with the market cap today, so 1.7 billion. By the way, this is revenue. I'm not talking about. I haven't deducted from revenue the cost to actually run the thing. So we're not talking about bottom line here. We're talking about top line for the revenue number. You compare it with market cap. Market cap to revenue ratio of close to 1,800 for Sui. It's more expensive at this point than Aptos is by a smaller margin, but 5 times more expensive than Solana if we're just looking at market cap versus revenue. And why? Is there a clear advantage that someone can say Sui has versus Solana? I don't really see that. Certainly, the trends that I went over don't suggest that this clear advantage exists, or else we would see some sort of narrowing of the lead for Solana. But we don't see this. We see a trend line for Sui and Aptos, I'll add, that is just parallel to the x-axis. There's not much movement there. Finally, as if all of that wasn't enough, if you look at the tokenomics for Sui, pretty terrible, because this year, and in fact, I don't want to necessarily go into assuming what their intentions were, but it does seem right around the Bitcoin halving, there is a jump in the token supply. And so current token holders are going to be diluted quite a bit. And how much are they going to be diluted? Well, it won't happen all at once, but over the coming period, they're going to be diluted quite a bit, considering that just 10% of tokens, Sui tokens, are in circulation today. So from all of this, so from the valuation, which I think is outrageous, more expensive than Solana, without anything to point to that necessarily tells me that it should be valued in that way, or growth is such that it's turning heads, and you can extrapolate from where things are today to say that okay, it's going to actually reach levels close to some of its other main competitors. So with all of this, I would say caveat emptor. And who knows what that means? It means buyer beware in Latin. And I would say this is a good motto to carry with you when you're investing in crypto, which is often just la la land. I mean, a lot of investors are investing based on X posts and headlines that they read, and they're not looking at the data. And that's why we're going over the data together, because I want to be data driven. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. That's how I like to invest. I like to look at what is the evidence. And the evidence right now doesn't suggest, I don't think, that Sui is a Solana killer, nor does it suggest that its valuation at this point is close to where it should be. Now, can it continue to run higher? Of course it can. The markets can remain irrational longer than investors can remain solvent. That's the saying on Wall Street. But especially in crypto world, la la land, things can get out of hand in terms of valuation, especially when things turn greedy. And so it could run higher, but the only thing I can do is invest based on what I know to be true, and what I know to be true is the data that I shared with you. So use that data to make an informed decision. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you left a like. It takes a lot of effort to put these videos together. And the purpose of these videos is to make some halal alpha, inshallah, and save you some money and make you some money. So if you appreciate these videos, then do leave a like. Encourages me and our team to do more, inshallah. And become a PIF member for more value, and to follow our portfolios, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And with that, let me go to the comments. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. So Ahmed is asking, is it halal in the first place? So the way I look at layer one blockchains is basically consider it a tolled road, for example. So it's providing the infrastructure, and what goes on that road is basically not necessarily checked every time a toll is charged. They're simply providing the infrastructure. That infrastructure can be used for a whole host of things. Now, similar with a tolled road, you can have people on that road that are going with intentions that are not good. The road is providing them with a way to get to a place where they can do something that's evil or haram or whatever. But it's not necessarily a reflection on the permissibility of having a tolled road. So, similarly, using this analogy, layer one blockchains are infrastructure. You can build on it a whole host of different things. And so I'm not really sure you can, if something that is not halal is built on a layer one blockchain, I'm not sure you can say, oh, therefore that infrastructure is not halal. No, I think the infrastructure can be used for many very beneficial things, and that's why we invest. We think that there is a lot of value here that could potentially accrue for humanity. So it's up to the developers of the different applications on the layer one solutions to develop things that are positive and not develop things that are negative. It's not necessarily up to or a reflection on the infrastructure itself, what actually gets built on there. Now, I will tell you that if a particular layer one is geared towards, so it's meant to serve, let's say, lending and borrowing with interest, it's designed to serve that particular purpose, then I would stay away. So, for example, if I had a tolled road that led to a casino, right? I don't want to invest in that road because that's specifically leading to a casino. But if I have a tolled road that's leading to Chicago, for example, then I think that's perfectly permissible. So I hope that makes sense. That's at least how I look at it. Wallahu alam. Wayakum. Can you please give a quick review overview? Sorry. Can't talk today. Can you please give a quick overview of which platform to use to buy crypto based on less fee and security? Coinbase charges a lot of fees. So I use Coinbase, the advanced trading option, and that has served me well. I think their fees are pretty reasonable. I don't trust Binance. I don't trust things that are not regulated. Coinbase is regulated based in the United States, so I do my trading there. All right, I think that's it. Thank you very much for coming. And until next time, take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum, and peace be upon you all.